Ever find yourself staring at your sleep tracker in the morning and you're like, ugh, is that like you've already messed up the day?
Yeah,
I think we've all been there.
definitely not alone.
So today we are diving into this whole perfect sleep obsession.
Yes.
We're going to unpack this idea of orthosomnia. Basically, when your quest for the perfect sleep stats totally backfires.
Right.
And just for kicks, we'll look at how people used to sleep way back when, like before we had these devices judging our every toss and turn.
It really is amazing how much power we've given these devices, isn't it?
It is.
This deep dive is all about this paper from the Journal of Clinical Sleep Medicine called Orthosomnia.
Hmm?
Are some patients taking the quantified self too far?
Okay.
And it's written by actual sleep medicine professionals, so they're seeing this firsthand with their patients.
Yeah, and it's not just a few patients here and there, right? I mean, Forrester did this research and found 10% of U.S. adults use sleep trackers regularly. And half of us are thinking about getting one. So this is something a lot of us are dealing with.
Absolutely.
Mm.
And this paper digs into this new thing, orthosomnia. It's a combo of ortho, meaning straight or correct, and somnia, sleep.
Right. Makes sense.
So it's like this chase for the perfect sleep score, even if it means you feel worse.
Okay, so let's get into it. The paper goes through 3 case studies that show just how different this can look in real life. We've got Mr. R, Mrs. B, and Mr. S.
So with Mr. R, his story shows how getting obsessed with certain sleep data can take over your whole life. He was so focused on getting 8 hours of deep sleep, according to his tracker,
Yeah.
that it made him super stressed. And then the stress made it harder to sleep.
Talk about a vicious cycle, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like
Yeah.
a self-fulfilling prophecy.
It's like he let the data control everything instead of the other way around.
Totally. And get this, he even tried to use his sleep tracker data as evidence in some legal thing,
Seriously?
as if it was some kind of foolproof evidence of how well he sleeps.
Oh, wow. That really shows you how much power we give these devices. Like, we trust this little algorithm more than, I don't know, ourselves.
Exactly. And then you've got Miss B, who's a whole other story.
Okay.
Even when she did a sleep study,
Mm-hmm.
where they hook you up to all those wires and actually look at your brain waves, it showed she was sleeping deeply. But she was convinced her Fitbit knew better.
Wow.
It didn't matter what the real, scientific data said. She was stuck on what her device told her.
So it's not just about the data itself, but how we interpret it, I guess. Like, it's so easy to get stuck in this loop of doubting yourself. Makes you wonder, who do we believe more? A machine on our wrist or actual doctors with, like, years of training?
It's crazy, right? And then there's Mr. S, who gives us a little hope, maybe.
Okay.
He actually used his sleep tracker data with therapy to get off sleep meds.
So it can be a good thing, but it's tricky, right?
Totally. It shows how tied up these devices are and how we see ourselves and even our healthcare. But it also shows how important it is to have a doctor helping you and to be, realistic about this data.
So are these trackers even accurate? I mean, we're basing so much on them, but what are they really measuring?
That is the question, isn't it?
It is.
The truth is, they're tracking movement, not your actual brainwaves. So they know when you're restless, but knowing if you're in light sleep, deep sleep, REM sleep, it's like a really good guess at best.
Like judging a book by its cover, maybe you get some stuff right, but you're missing the whole story. And speaking of stories, digging into the past shows this whole 8 hours of sleep without waking up is a new thing.
It really is. The Guardian article talks about segmented sleep, which was normal in 16th and 17th century England.
Wait, so they just woke up in the middle of the night, like on purpose?
Totally normal.
Well.
They had a first sleep, then a second sleep, with this chunk of being awake in between. They'd chat, maybe tend the fire, even visit neighbors. It was just part of life back then. Can you imagine chatting with your neighbor at 2 a.m.?
I can barely form a sentence at 2 a.m., let alone walk around in my PJs. But it does make you wonder if trying so hard to sleep in one big chunk is going against how we're supposed to sleep.
Right. It makes you rethink what a good night's sleep even is.
Yeah.
Maybe those wake-up calls aren't failures. Maybe they're chances to think or just be in the moment.
I like that, calling them pauses and not interruptions. But let's be real, we can't all just toss our alarm clocks and embrace this whole segmented sleep thing.
True.
So what do we do? How do we balance modern life and our body's natural sleep vibes?
Well, it starts with awareness, right? Knowing these devices can be helpful, but they can also make us anxious about sleep.
And remembering everyone's different. What works for your best friend might not work for you. It's about finding your own way, not chasing some perfect score on a screen.
Exactly. Don't stare at your sleep score. Pay attention to how you feel. Do you wake up feeling good, energized? Can you focus all day? That's how you know you're sleeping well.
Right. It's about listening to your own body and not letting some data tell you how you feel. Which brings us to something important. If you're really struggling with sleep, talk to a doctor.
Definitely. They can figure out what's up and suggest things just for you, not what your tracker thinks is best. Remember, even real data can be misleading if you're overthinking it.
Yeah.
Having a professional help you makes a huge difference.
It's about balance.
Yeah.
Using tech to learn about yourself, but not letting it stress you out or make you feel bad.
And remembering a good night's sleep might look different for everyone.
And sometimes you just have to put the devices down, tune out the noise, and just let yourself rest.
It's like we're giving away control, like
Yeah.
letting an algorithm decide if we're doing well at sleep.
Totally. And when you think about how much we value being productive, it's no wonder sleep feels like, I don't know, wasted time, like something we should minimize.
It's true. We're always told to do more, be more productive, squeeze everything we can into a day. It's like we forgot that rest is important, like it's not just something to eliminate from our lives.
Right. I wonder if, back in the day, with their more go-with-the-flow sleep, if it was easier to just listen to their bodies. No alarm clocks, no phones buzzing, just natural sleep-wake cycles. Maybe that first sleep, second sleep thing had something to it.
It is interesting to think about. Makes you wonder if our ideal way of sleeping, like in one big chunk, is even natural for us.
Totally.
Instead of thinking those middle of the night wake-ups are bad, maybe there are chances to just be present, think a little.
I love that, calling them pauses, not interruptions. But it's not like we can all just ditch our alarms and embrace this segmented sleep thing.
Right.
So where does that leave us? How do we make modern life work with, our body's need for sleep?
Well, it starts by being aware, right?
Yeah.
Knowing that these devices can help, but they can also make us kind of crazy about sleep.
And remembering that everyone's different, right? What works for me might not work for you, for them,
Exactly. It's about figuring out what's good for you, not trying to be some perfect sleeper according to a tracker.
Yeah.
So instead of obsessing over your sleep score,
Yeah.
just notice how you feel. Do you wake up good?
Right.
Full of energy? Can you focus during the day? That's what really matters.
It's like trusting your gut,
Yeah.
not letting some data tell you what's up. Which brings us to something really important. If you are truly struggling, like really struggling with sleep,
Don't mess around.
talk to a doctor.
Absolutely. They can get to the bottom of it and give you advice that's actually right for you, not just what your tracker says.
Right.
Don't forget, even if the data is technically right, you can still overthink it.
Mhm.
Having someone who knows their stuff help you out, it makes a world of difference.
It's finding that balance again. Using tech to learn about yourself, but not letting it turn into this negative, stressful thing.
Right. It's about remembering that good sleep might look different for everyone, even if the trackers say otherwise.
Yes, and sometimes, honestly, the best thing you can do is put the phone down, turn off the noise, and just let yourself rest. It's funny, we started talking about orthosomnia, right? This whole thing where you're obsessed with perfect sleep numbers on your tracker. But this feels bigger now, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. It's like this whole dataism thing. Like, we can measure our way to a perfect life.
Right.
And data is useful and all, but we can't forget about actually living,
Yes.
feelings and stuff. You can't always measure that.
Totally. We get so caught up in the numbers, we forget to actually enjoy life.
Yeah.
And sleep scores don't show the whole picture. It's how you feel when you wake up, how your day goes, who you connect with. That's what counts.
100%. It's about finding that middle ground between tracking yourself and liking yourself. Data can help you decide stuff, but it shouldn't tell you if you're good enough.
And sometimes you just gotta put the gadgets down, listen to your body, and just rest. Maybe our ancestors were onto something with their whole less structured sleep thing.
Maybe so. A little
Yeah.
first sleep, a little second sleep, a fireside chat. Sounds kind of nice, right?
Right.
Like a reminder that rest doesn't have to be so scheduled and perfectly measured.
Yeah, maybe less screens, more chats by the fireplace before bed. But really, thank you so much for this deep dive today. Hopefully this got everyone thinking about their own sleep, how tech plays a role, and this whole idea of perfect rest.
It's been great, really.
And to everyone listening, we want to hear from you. When does self-tracking go too far? When do we trust ourselves instead of the gadgets? Until next time, we hope you find some peace, some rest, and hey, maybe even a good fireside chat in your sleep journey.